It's the Nevada Caucus. Welcome to Brief News Brief's election coverage. I'm James Heaney. Today, some votes were counted. There were a few big changes to the Nevada Caucus process this time around, and it seems to have dramatically impacted those votes that were counted. Nevada instituted early voting for the first time ever ahead of its caucuses. Before today, which today is voting day, nearly 75,000 Nevada Democrats had already cast their ballots. Now, a majority of those people casting ballots, this was their first time ever going to a caucus, being caucus goers, which really, in my mind, says they're never goers. They never went to a caucus. They filled in an early voting process thing. This happened over 4 days. Those 75,000 people that early voted, that's almost as much as the entire total of the caucus goers in 2016. Now remember that that's just in early votes. So this early voting was actually not really a caucus so much as it was just ranked voting, which is a system of voting where voters rank a minimum of 3 candidates and a maximum of 5 candidates on their ballot. It's a sort of paper way of doing a caucus without all the horse trading. The actual caucus today looked pretty empty compared to the Iowa caucuses. In Iowa, they had no early voting. It seems like most people in Nevada chose to vote early in a time that works for, their schedule and isn't a 4-hour process. Wow, sounds like we found a better form of democracy in action, where more people have better access to voting. Cool! Is this the end of caucuses as we know them? Seems pretty unnecessary when policies like ranked voting and early voting can be implemented state to state and get a real understanding of what people's choice is. So what happened today is the rain stormed down on the hot desert of the Las Vegas Strip. What's that? Whispers of a revolution. Bernie Sanders. He crushed it. The rain couldn't put out his fire. People are feeling the burn. He took a commanding lead, leaving the other 3 candidates in a tight race, or the other 3 viable candidates, in a tight race for king of the losers. If there was a doubt about Bernie's viability as a clear frontrunner in this whole thing, be dubious no more. He's the man out in front of this field. He won the popular vote in Iowa, he won the New Hampshire primary, and now he's on top in Nevada. Democratic establishment people are squirming. Hardcore Bernie supporters are rejoicing as the battle that they have embarked on since the 2016 primary finally reached its critical mass. In 2011, when the Occupy Wall Street protests broke out, a lot of critics said that the movement doesn't have any direction. Where are they going with this? Yet less than a decade later, we see an independent democratic socialist dominating the presidential race, and it's leaving the pundits scratching their head. Why did the Occupy Wall Street movement die out in 2015? Maybe it's because a lot of those activists were just starting to feel the burn. Another tentpole in Sanders' campaign that is like a magnet for voters is Medicare for All. The Affordable Care Act passed a decade ago, and while it was a major legislation that has transformed how Americans feel about their health care rights, it still left millions of Americans out. The public option got killed, remember? Obamacare, with all of its graceful compromises, still lives in a constant threat of destruction, be it from the courts or the Trump administration. Obamacare fell short. Access to health care was still a matter of classism in America. People in America work full-time and live in poverty. People work 2, 3 gigs in this economy, and they still are barely making ends meet. The middle class of the 90s is just gone, and people are mad as hell about it. They're fired up for a revolution. It's a classism revolution. That's why Putin loves it. Classic classism Putin. It was reported before the Nevada Caucus that Bernie Sanders was warned that Russia was trying to help his campaign to win. In a statement, Sanders said, "I don't care, frankly, who Putin wants to be president. My message to Putin is clear. Stay out of American elections. As president, I will make sure that you do." Next Saturday will be the contest for South Carolina's primary. Tune into Brief News Brief to get your election news coverage.
Newsman, get your news now. Come on, newsman, tell me the news. Tell me the news. get your newsman. Come on, newsman, tell me the news. News.